Hello and good afternoon. My name's Don Arleth and you're watching World News coming live to you from Warsaw. Poland's National Prosecutor's Office has opened a terrorism-related investigation, and authorities have traced the buyer of SIM cards used to detonate the explosives, targeting a strategic rail link between Warsaw and the southeastern city of Lublin. Poland's National Security Committee is also holding an extraordinary meeting to discuss the latest suspected sabotage operation. The meeting was attended by military commanders, heads of security services, and a representative of the president. Security Services Coordinator Tomasz Szymoniak has said that the attack was highly likely to have been carried out at the behest of a foreign service. The chief of the General Staff of the Polish Armed Forces, Wiesław Kukuła, said the goal is to create conditions favorable for potential aggression on Polish territory. And Prime Minister Donald Tusk visited the site of this incident on Monday. The National Prosecutor's Office announced in a statement that it has launched an investigation into acts of sabotage of a terrorist nature. Officials said rail services have now resumed in the area. Now, if you think that we know all the acts of sabotage and hybrid warfare, think again. Speaking to TVP Info, Polish Energy Minister Miłosz Motyka said that there could be many more such incidents.
Let us remember that the public is not aware of a number of incidents. There may be more such incidents. The services are acting consistently. And please keep that in mind. It's not always the case that the services inform about every incident. This is precisely why we are increasing investment in security, the protection of critical infrastructure, transmission networks, the oil terminal, the LNG terminal and power plants, using our own funds and in cooperation with the services, as well as funds for cybersecurity, so that such incidents do not occur. And every day we patrol and inspect these facilities.
Despite more acts of suspected Russian sabotage occurring on Polish soil, experts remain optimistic, citing Ukrainian, Polish, and European resilience as evidence that Vladimir Putin's war strategy is not working.
Ukraine still stands. Look, that's the fundamental. Ukraine still stands. Poland still stands, despite the fact you've had a serious act of sabotage on your soil, on that railway line. Europe still stands despite Vladimir Putin's efforts to break it down and divide it, using Ukraine as basically the country to be devastated, to be annihilated. And as long as Ukraine stands, this idea that Putin has won and that everything is lost, I'm not going to buy that.
Sweden's Defense Minister Paul Johnson said that Poland is a role model when it comes to identifying and tackling Russian hybrid warfare threats. In an interview with TVP World, Johnson said that NATO must make more effort to constrain Russia as it takes ever greater political and military risks.
Poland is really role models when it comes to having strong rules of engagements above your airspace. And of course, that's why the Netherlands and the Polish Air Force were successful in shooting down the drone incursions that happened to you a month ago. And you are also a key allies when it comes to investing into your own defense capabilities as well. So we are having a deeper collaboration with you than we ever had before. But as I said, now we also have to delimit and constrain Russia because they are taking greater political and military risk. That's why Sweden is dead set serious on continuing increasing sanctions on Russia. That's why we're so dedicated on identifying more Russian shadow fleet vessels on the Baltic Sea. That's why we're also stepping up our Ukraine support, because we think that's the best way to delimit and constrain Russia, to make sure that Russia is not successful in Ukraine.
On Monday, Finland began the Northern Strike 225 exercises at the training ground near Rovaniemi, with a Polish artillery unit taking part. In total, approximately 2,200 soldiers and 500 vehicles and artillery pieces, including 2 Polish Homar K missile launchers, are involved in the drills, which will run until November 25th.
According to a spokesperson for the Finnish army, the aim of the Northern Strike 225 exercise is to test artillery firepower coordination between allies in difficult early winter conditions. The drills are led by a brigade from Kainuu, a region in Finland located on the border with Russia. The Polish deployment carries significant weight as it marks the first time HIMARS systems have been airlifted abroad using Antonov AN-124 aircraft under NATO's strategic transport network.
European security is in sharp focus as the Berlin Security Conference opens today. Over 2 days, leaders and defense officials will tackle urgent challenges from strengthening military-industrial base to countering Russia's hybrid warfare threats. Here's more from our defense correspondent Zuzana Jurek in Berlin.
Berlin Security Conference is currently underway in the German capital, and over the next 2 days, delegations from across Europe as well as the world are expected to discuss key issues currently pressing the European continent. This includes the ongoing need to build up the military-industrial base, as well as counteract against some of the sabotage attempts being seen across Europe as part of Russia's hybrid warfare. Now, this conference partner country this year is Sweden, and so as such, Sweden is expected to sign multiple memorandums of understandings with other European capitals on ongoing military strengthening. That includes joint training expected to be signed with Berlin, as well as others, including Poland and the Baltic countries. Now, this conference doesn't come without its own context, and that is we are currently seeing an uptake of sabotage attempts in Europe as part of Russia's hybrid warfare. It was only yesterday that in the east of Poland we observed an explosion of a railway track, which resulted in significant disruptions to the traffic. As these sabotage attempts are going on, this is also expected to be discussed during this conference, all in an effort to ensure that Europe is prepared in order to face these effectively. From Berlin, for TVP World, Zuzana Jurek.
And across the Atlantic, U.S. officials warned that lobbyists tied to the pro-Kremlin Russian Orthodox Church may push claims of Ukrainian persecution of Orthodox Christians during a Tuesday meeting with the White House Faith Office.
Republican Congressman Joe Wilson posted on X that the Russian Orthodox Church is not a separate religious organization, but an extension of the Russian state. He wrote that officials should not entertain what he described as an intelligence operation. The Russian Orthodox Church is led by Patriarch Kirill, who backs Russia's war against Ukraine. Kiev banned the Russian Orthodox Church in August 2024. The Hill news site reports that Finland's intelligence service last week warned about Orthodox parishes operating in the country under the Moscow Patriarch being connected to influence activities linked to the Russian state.
On Monday's anniversary of the Velvet Revolution, up to 100,000 people gathered in Bratislava, protesting what they see as democratic backsliding and pro-Russian policies of Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico. Fico, who is in his 4th term as Prime Minister, has scrapped a special office to investigate corruption, taken more control of public media, and repeatedly accused his detractors of planning a coup.
We were here in 1989 like little children, crying for change. And we value that change, that democracy. That's what we're all about. It's hard for us to live like this, that we see what direction it's going in. We think that we belong in Europe and not where Fico is pushing us.
I expect that the result will be a signal to the government that we will not let our freedom be encroached upon, and that democracy, freedom, everything that November 17th symbolized, is as important today as before. And I would also say that we will send a signal of unity as the opposition and readiness to change this government. And from you, classmates and students, I do not want heroism. It's enough for you not to be silent, to not be convinced that you are small and powerless. Change does not begin in parliament, but in the heads of people who are willing to jingle keys and stand on the sidewalk in front of the government office. So do not be silent.
And now to Serbia, where Diana Hrka, the mother of one of the victims of the Novi Sad railway station canopy collapse, ended her 16-day hunger strike on Monday. But it's to be determined, she is still determined to carry on fighting for justice. Protesters in Serbia continue to call for the resignation of President Vučić over mismanagement and failure to prosecute anyone over the tragedy.
First, I will call students and citizens for a meeting this evening to discuss further steps. I received a blessing from 2 priests to end the hunger strike. I received it from medical workers from Sombor, Belgrade. I don't know where people wrote from. I also received calls to end the hunger strike, and I will end it today, but I'm staying here. We still live in some hope, and that's why we come here regularly.
Like most people in Serbia, we believe that change will come. This is just an attempt to show that we are on Dijana's side, that her sacrifice must stop because it leads nowhere.
And finally, to the world of sport, where Poland has defeated Malta 3-2 in the World Cup qualifiers. The Polish national football team has finished second in its group and will compete in the playoffs for a spot in the 2026 World Cup, hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Poland had already secured its spot in the playoffs ahead of yesterday's game in Malta. The results of the match, however, was important for positioning in the next stage. Poland's performance was disappointing, and Malta was close to making an upset. Polish footballer Piotr Zielinski scored the winning goal in the 85th minute. He said after the game that Malta was able to surprise Poland with its passing and offensive skills. Now the Polish national team can focus on the playoffs. Its next rivals in the fight for the World Cup qualification will be revealed at a draw on Thursday. And that concludes this edition of World News. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.